Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. I am here with Veritas, yes, the inspirational guru. She
Yeah.
does a lot of stuff around dating and coaching and inspiring women to be goddesses. You
Oh,
understand?
yeah.
All right. So you know my channel. I love to bring people on that are going to improve, refine, and help us all to be better human beings. So that's what today's conversation will be about. I know you read the title. We're dealing with, I guess, the toxicities of high value male and women, and we want to bring some correction into it and actually have a real good discussion around what actually high value what actually really means, and what that means for me and it means for you. So I'm going to introduce my guest, Veritas. Let them know who you are and where they can also find you as well.
Awesome. Hi. Thank you so much, Mr.
It's
Little Black
love. It's love.
Hydrated. So, hi,
Indeed.
everyone. My name is Veritas, mainly known as the Inspiration Guru. I'm a barrister lawyer. I was called to the Bar of England Wales in July 2019, so nearly 2 years called. I'm also a life transformation coach and an inspirational speaker. And I'm a Black femininity advocate as well, because I'm very passionate about restoring femininity back into Black women. So my mission really is I mainly work with corporate women, teaching them how to shift from just their 9 to 5 to becoming high caliber, high value goddess women in business. And how I show them how to do this is through building them up to become women of purpose, women of impact, and women of influence mainly, especially God's way in their business, in their spirituality, in their relationships as well. And what led me to do this was based on the lifestyle I used to live. So, yes, you're hearing that I'm a life transformational coach now. You're hearing that I'm a lawyer now. But what if I told y'all that just 8 years ago, I was on the other side of the law? I've been arrested before.
Mm.
I've been arrested before. I was in the jail cell twice in 2012. I dropped out of uni twice. I failed my first year in uni, not once, not twice, not 3 times, in law. And I was going through those relationships where I didn't know who I was. I had self-esteem issues. I didn't have self-love. I was settling for men that God was telling me to stay away from. I was on the other side, totally. But 2013, and I always give glory to God. I have to, because with the way my life was moving, prison was highly likely. I would have thought everything was over. I didn't think I'll ever be a lawyer. I didn't think I'll ever be the woman I am now. But God gave me a second chance in
Mm.
2013, and I ran to that. Went back to church, went back to choir, went back to uni. They let me back in after dropping out twice. 2015, I graduated in my law degree, became an entrepreneur. And
Wow.
then in 2017, 18, I decided to go to the bar and pursue my dream to be a barrister lawyer. And I was called in 2019, and now it's like God showed me that you need to turn your message into a message. And I'm
Mm.
using what I went through to be able to coach other women to become high caliber women. Because I've been from the bottom end to a high caliber. So now I'm showing other women how to do that. So that's really my story. But I just had to give glory to God at the beginning of this, because if you told me 8 years ago that I would be the inspiration guru and using my story to inspire others, I would have said that's not possible. Look at how much of a mess I am. But God had a totally different plan, and here I am. So that's really me in a nutshell. Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited for our conversation.
No worries at all, man. No worries at all. Yeah, I got questions. I got questions. I got questions. I got questions. So obviously, you're saying about the fact that you went into jail. You jumped out of a university. Do you know what I'm saying? I need to know a little bit about this jail
Go ahead,
piece. Okay, sis.
go ahead, Ram, an open book.
What happened that you ended up in jail? What was going on?
My goodness, it was really the wrong environment. So let me put it like this.
Mm.
You know, I And I do say childhood traumas have a lot to do with things that happen when you're older. And I realized this last year when I went on my self-discovery journey to becoming a high caliber, high value woman myself, a woman of God, I'll say. And it was things from bullying and low self-esteem. So I was always trying to fit in. That was like I had acceptance issues from when I was in primary school. I was never able to fit in with the crowd ever. Um, but I now realize I was never meant to. So I was always trying to fit in. I even changed my identity, changed my looks. I did everything to try and fit in with the crowd. And, I started hanging around girls. I was part of a girl clique when I was like 16. So I was jumping, like fighting with chicks on roads. I was doing all of that and hanging around guys that were doing scams. You know about the AC scams
Come on
back
now.
in the day and the quick money. So I was like a hustler, but I was doing it the wrong way. So I was all about the quick money, the fast life. That was what I was all about. So I was doing that. No matter who I hurt, I didn't care. I was doing that and I was involving myself with those kind of people. So I got into a situation where because I was involved with those kind of people, I ended up in like a false imprisonment thing where my mother was getting blackmailed and it's me being an open book, it's real. This is stuff I got myself into. And that same night, we got arrested, me and the girls. And I was in a cell for like 24 hours. And I think that I remember it so well because it was on a Good Friday. It was on Crucifixion Friday in 2012. At 3 a.m., I was being taken into the police station. That was the first time. And I heard that voice say to me, "How did you get here? This is not you." And I was just crying out to God, like quietly, and I just fell asleep. And I was like, wow, I'm a mess. Then did I learn my lesson from that one time? No. When I got myself into another situation, wrong place, wrong time, doing stupidness, where I ended up in a cell again at the end of that year. Prior to that time, I was in a cell, wrong place, wrong time, trusted someone I called my friend who was known for theft, and I was put in a situation with them where I had to go to court and plead not guilty. Me, who a couple years before I was doing a law degree and dropped out, I'm pleading not guilty in court. So it was really to do with being at the wrong place at the wrong time and having the wrong friends and getting myself into problems because I wanted to live that fast life. That's really what it was. Wanting to live that fast life, make that quick money without, my mind was totally on quick money, quick things and trying to fit in. Yeah. So that's how I ended up in that situation twice.
So prison. Okay. So jail cell, and then, but this obviously that's yes, you just said that was after you dropped out of university.
Yeah, it was actually after. So I dropped out twice. I dropped out in 2009. Moved from Bedfordshire University to London.
Wait. What time did you go uni?
Bedfordshire, Luton.
2000 when?
2009. I dropped out.
I think you started the same year I started.
I started in 2006.
Okay, so you dropped out at the time when I was just starting then.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, because I was at the same university. Okay, cool.
I used to be up in Bucor and all of that, so I guess you know all of that.
You know about Bucor. Oh, girl.
I was in that place, so
Bucor was different.
I came up in that era, yeah? So I had to come back to London in 2009. I dropped out 2010. I was still living in Luton. Then I came back to London, tried to start the uni thing again. 2012 is when all that mess was happening. So I dropped out in 2013 and was like, you know what? Because I've done so much mess. And I was also an ex-glamour model. So I was doing lingerie shoots and my erotic shoots. So people saw my pics on the internet. It is what it is. I was that chick as well. So with all of that was happening at one time, I was like, okay, if I just dropped out. I was like, there's so much mess I've done. There's no point in me trying to get a law degree again. Let me just sweep it under the rug. Yes, I'll give it a second chance, but let me sweep it under the rug and just go into full-time work and work my way up to wealth. That was where my mindset was until my parents and a mentor showed me, my mom and my dad, God bless them, reminded me of the scripture, God can make your crooked path straight. So they said, let's go back to the beginning where the path went crooked and let's fix it. And that's when I said, okay. I was afraid to go back to school because I was like, what if I fail again? What if people laugh at me and say, why is she going back to uni? She's already a failure. We've seen her naked pics on the internet. She's been in trouble with the police. We're hearing so much about her. But once my parents reminded me, go back to the purpose before the mess. I just went back and I changed my environment, cut off everyone, started listening to Les Brown, started to listen to TD Jakes. That's what got me through all of that to the very end. Went back to church, went back to serving choir. So, yeah.
Let me level set, as they say on Clubhouse. Let me level set, and kind of bring us to where we are at the moment. You know what I'm saying? I'm learning from Clubhouse, because right now, if you just joined as well, guys, we are talking about high value male women, and kind of just breaking down, some of the toxicities and trying to reinstate what it really is. But before we get to that conversation, we're just trying to get to know Veritas really, really well, right? So if you just joined, she has just given us a little scope of her life, right? And I'm sure we'll have her on the channel again so she can really expand on her story. But she's just given us a little glimpse. And I think what's really inspirational about what you've just shared, even in that small piece, is that, the situation you found yourself in, right? You actually had some prospects, and then you kind of veered off and found yourself somewhere that you didn't think you'd actually be in. Mm-hmm. And then you're now having to come back on yourself and be like, okay, let me start from the beginning. I think what's really interesting, I would love to hear your perspective on this, is the blessing of good parents, because some people might come back, but there's no one to instruct them. Mm-hmm. So it's do or die, and they come back and it's like, I'm going to go back into that lifestyle again because there is nobody who cares or loves me. So I'd love to hear your perspective in terms of the impact of your parents on sending you back on that straight path and alongside God as well.
Absolutely. At the same time as having the importance of having parents, especially a two-parent household, or even if they're not together, still having a relationship with one or the other, that's extremely important. Because, at first, I didn't have a relationship with them because, when I was messing up, they were so angry with me. But I think they realized that they needed to talk to me and say, what's going on with you? And I think once I heard that question, what's going on with you? I was able to have, because I felt like I didn't have no one to talk to. I wasn't getting on with them. Me and my mother never used to see eye to eye. Now, I make sure I cling on to my relationship with her now because that's my mother, and I had to go through the healing of my mummy issues to become feminine. That plays a big part in femininity.
Hey.
Mummy issues. So much you hear about daddy issues, but women, I'm telling you, if you have mummy issues and you want to manifest into your divine feminine goddess woman that God has set you, as hard as it is, you need to heal mummy issues. You have to. I had to. I'm still repairing my relationship with her.
Yeah, tell us about it.
But I had to go back to trying to have a relationship with my parents again by moving back into the house that I didn't want to stay in, which is with them. So I had to suck it up and move back in with them because I was forced to move back in with them. The people I lived with, when I was out on holiday in Jamaica, they threw my stuff back in my parents' house and were telling stories about me. And I was like, you know what? The streets are dealing with me. My parents had to show me, we're the one who loves you. You seem angry with us, but we're the ones you keep coming back to, So I had to try and rebuild my relationship with them. And they now said, we're here to support you. And I think that meant the world to me because that helped me say, okay, if I've got their support, that's good enough. I think that just made me feel comfortable enough to go back. They were the ones saying to me, your parents will be the ones to tell you what people on the streets aren't trying to tell you. Now, for those who don't, because I was talking to the streets, but the streets dealt with me. So I had to come back.
Streets are hot.
The streets were hot, like you say exactly. So, for those who don't have parents in their life, I say get a mentor because even though I had my parents, I had to get mentors. So when I went back to university, I signed up for mentorship and was having weekly meetings with my mentor. So even if you don't have a relationship with your parents, that plays a significant part in your growth. No matter what you've been through, try and suck it up and have conversations with them to let them know how you feel, and if it's not good with this, just then get a third party involved. But with me, fortunately, I was able to have conversations with them. And while I was going through school and when I had discouragement moments, I was going back to them. I had my brothers supporting me, my sisters supporting me, and then I had mentors. And the mentors was when I went back to church, I did have a young pastor that was mentoring me. I was having conversations with him about my struggles that I couldn't tell my parents. But, I think spiritual mentorship is also important. I made sure I got mentorship. And even after I left uni, I went and that's before I became a coach, I got myself a coach. So parents are significantly important, whether they're together or not. You need to have a relationship with one or the other, or at least both, which is powerful for me. But it's like, I know people who have parents that have passed away or adoption or stuff like that. Get a mentor. Yeah.
And just explain to us what's this divine femininity, just in case anybody doesn't really know what that actually means. You said entering into the divine femininity. What does that mean?
Divine femininity is more than just wearing the best hairstyle, getting the best lashes, wearing the best makeup, wearing the most expensive clothes. That's the external part. The real divine femininity comes with a lot of healing. So a divine feminine woman goes through healing, knows how to balance her masculine and feminine energy. And she's constantly healing because when you're wounded, it starts to spill out on other people. A divine feminine woman is purposeful, okay? Very purposeful. She focuses on purpose. Who can she serve? Who can she bless? And she makes sure that everyone and everything around her wins. Everything attached to her must win. I say a godly woman. Okay, definitely God is the center of everything she's going through. A woman who is a servant leader as well. A woman who is soft. And when I say soft, I don't mean let people walk over you, but you're respectful. Your energy attracts people. She's full of light. Her energy attracts people around her. She sets boundaries. And God lives within her, and it's so evident. So that's divine feminine. She has a calm spirit as well. And I also say that the divine feminine woman is a boss chick.
A boss chick. I like that.
And she's a helpmate. The original purpose. She's a helpmate. So she's a problem solver.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. She's a problem solver. She's not trying to create problems. She's always she's making sure there's a solution to every problem that she faces. That's the divine feminine goddess woman. And when I say goddess, she's a female human manifestation of God. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I hear that. All right, cool. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, okay, so you're talking about obviously femininity, divine goddess,
Oh, and she's a Proverbs 31 woman. How can I forget
Proverbs 31 woman, what's that?
So when I say the Proverbs 31 woman, the Proverbs 31, 10 to 18 is so detailed. I did do a breakdown of it with another woman in her Queens Unleashed tribe, which was freaking awesome. But like the Proverbs 31 woman, it mentioned her as a woman of impact, woman of purpose. She's a woman of philanthropy. I said that word fully without twisting my tongue. I usually start with that.
To repeat
it. She creates legacy. Legacy is her. She creates legacy. Her husband calls her blessed. Her children call her blessed. Her husband trusts her with legacy. And she, besides having the maid, she's a leader, but she lets her husband lead. So there's so much, and she's the crown. I feel like she's the crown. She's more precious than rubies. So when women who with low self-esteem focus on, their validation based on what someone tells them, I'm like, you're missing the point. As a woman, you're more precious than rubies. She's more precious than rubies. And I looked up how expensive rubies were. She's a priceless woman. She's full of value, she's full of purpose. People are missing the purpose of woman. I think that's what the issue is here. They're forgetting the purpose of woman. They're forgetting the power of woman. They're forgetting the mission of the woman. I think that's where the real toxicity has started. The identity and the purpose has totally been axed out. And I'll say it's no surprise because from the beginning of time, what was the first thing the enemy attacked?
The woman.
Yes, but besides that, what was the first thing he attacked?
Girl, you gonna test my Bible skills? I don't know, girl.
Identity.
I don't know.
Identity, her identity. Because the question the serpent asked Eve is, did God tell you that, if you eat this fruit, will you die? He kept questioning her. He had to hack into her mind for a bit to make her question herself. So in the Bible, when we look at it, it looks like a short conversation, but I'm sure that conversation went on for a while. Are you sure? Okay, surely you will not die. Because if you take this, you will become like God. Had Eve remembered who she is, which is prior to Genesis 3, let us make man in his own image and likeness. Had she remembered that, she would have already known that she's already like God. Someone else wouldn't have had to tell her this to convince her to do otherwise. So her identity was at the first thing he came for. Are you sure this is gonna? Are you sure this is gonna? No, that's not true. If you do this, this will happen. But she forgot who she was and listened to what someone else told her, and it led her to make a decision that caused Pandora's box to open. Now, had she had remembered who she was, that would not have occurred. And that's what's happening with so many women and men today. They're forgetting who God said we are. And they're seeking validation from other people, and at times the wrong people. And when they go to the wrong people to get that validation and get the wrong advice, it causes them to do something totally outside them that could be the detriment to their destiny or the detriment to them. So that's why I say it starts from there.
Love that. And Proverbs 31 is obviously the one that's always been used as, I guess, a bar and a standard for women, especially within the church. Like, you know, you've been told, listen, be Proverbs 31, Proverbs 31, and all that
so
stuff.
No one's paying attention to the real purpose of it. They're not going back to the beginning. They're going to the middle. They're not going back to the foundation. They've forgotten the total foundation of that woman. Totally.
Oh, Flo says, oh, yeah, you don't stop. Go for it. Don't stop. You were flowing.
They've totally forgotten that. They've fast forwarded to Proverbs 31, other scriptures concerning woman. Oh, the woman is supposed to be modest. The woman is supposed to be this. The woman is supposed to be that. But they're forgetting from the very beginning. It also, they're fast forwarded, and I think this is what led to issues that we're going through. Feminism, patriarchy, the abuse of dominant position. You know, at the beginning, you know, God created man to be the leader, okay? Then the woman came to be the helpmate. Then it also says the man shall cleave unto his wife and leave his family. But, you know, when the whole Pandora's box issue happened, with the serpent spirit came in and the punishments were given to the woman, there was abuse of dominant position. Oh, the woman shall be under the man. So therefore, she's not the helpmate. She's a servant. She's a slave. She's this. And that's where the abuse of dominant position through toxic patriarchy came into play. Okay? Oof. Using scripture. This is where enslavement of our ancestors or our black people came in through the misuse of scripture. Again, the serpentine spirit constantly coming in to mess up God's plan. The slavery of our people, the toxic patriarchy, the you know, and then the women are now, you know, it came along. It's always going back to scripture. The Bible said this though, women about women. The Bible said this about slavery. The Bible said this about, you know, so much, because people they've forgotten the foundation of which is purpose, scripture, the identity of man and woman. And yes, there was toxic patriarchy, and feminism had to come in for women to get our equal rights. But then, of course, there comes the toxic feminism. Oh, we don't need men. Then there came the single parent homes and all of that mess that was happening. Again, serpentine spirit, the crack era, so much darkness coming in to mess up the structures of God. Then women saying, I don't need men. And then men growing up to say, we don't need to be men. Women saying, we need to be more masculine. And the whole mess is like a whole domino effect. But it started from that conversation concerning the identity of man and woman. Can you see what I mean? The whole domino effect that's happened over, and people keep bringing up scripture. So remember, we said it before this, when there's talks about high value men can cheat because they should, and the Bible was brought up to defend that. But people forgot the consequences that came, the consequences of Abraham and Sarah's decision is still happening today. Abraham still got his promise of generational wealth, but the generational consequence of that decision is still playing its part.
Today, yeah.
Till today. So it's like, again, brings it back to my point, the foundation, the purpose has been axed out. And because of that, it's like everything else is collapsing around it. And it needs to go back to healing that, fixing that, the purpose. What was the purpose from the beginning?
Back to basics. Yeah, you're speaking right now. And I think you're absolutely right, man. It's about taking it back to the root of the issue. And I think I kind of really was touched by when you were talking about the Adam and Eve and talking about the serpent and how, I love how you called it serpentine influence that we have since then, which is not to it's almost of course, we know that Satan comes to steal, kill, destroy, and he's destroying the original intent by it. But
Yes.
he does that by rearranging. So
Yes.
the destruction comes by rearranging. He doesn't get rid of. He just rearranges it and kind of says, "Is this how it's meant to be?" And I think we're still asking that question today, as in for man and for women. Is this how a relationship is meant to be? And so, like you're saying about how the abuse of position when you're a man comes into play.
Yep.
Yes, it comes to
Patriarchy.
toxic patriarchy.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think with that, it's such an interesting situation, because I think when you look at maybe the manosphere, I look
No.
at I look at
That
the
is huge, and it breaks my heart even more that
mm,
it's huge amongst black men and black women too. I'm not saying all black men are in the manosphere,
of course,
not,
of course.
but I see it more within the black race. Right now, I'm seeing a war between black men and black women. And I say to people, it takes me to the book of Ephesians 12. St. Paul warned us of this. He said, the battle is not against flesh and blood. It's against spirits and inside high places. And that's what's manifesting in all of this. The battle is not flesh and blood. It's really beyond that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. There is a clear, I like the war between black men and black women. Do you know what? You most see this on YouTube, yes.
Ooh.
But on Clubhouse, I only joined like 2 weeks ago, and I did not realize how much of a war is going on between black and... I knew there's a war, but they make you realize you're on the front line on Clubhouse. Like, Clubhouse is a front line, and because of the way Clubhouse is set up, I don't think it really helps to really patch up things between black men and black women, because there are so many different rooms being opened. The title already is a trigger title to get people into the room. Like, that just sets the tone for the majority of the conversation. People unmute themselves and interrupt and jump in, and it's never conducive really for me watching it, like, for a really open, honest dialogue where we can actually learn from one another. It just becomes another tool how to bash each other. And it's like when you go into Clubhouse and you just see some weird titles. Over there I saw there's the Bible as how the Bible is destroying black femininity. I said, oh,
I saw that and was like, don't do that. I think I saw that and was like, let me not jump in there, because I will start preaching and I'll probably get thrown out. You know, I've seen the Bible's messed up. The Bible messed up the black race, and I've sat inside rooms where black men are violent towards black women, or I think there was a time I was in a room where I was speaking generally. It was just a general conversation, and obviously a black man came in and he made his point that he feels like black women need to do more of this and not doing enough of that. So obviously I rebutted him in a respectful manner, and was like, okay, this is what y'all are saying, but you spend so much time asking ask women to be perfect, but y'all aren't being masculine. You want us to be feminine, you want 50-50. I had to call it out, but respectfully, and immediately he started raising his voice, and a bunch of black women had to jump in on my behalf and say, listen, she spoke, this is a woman. Don't raise your voice at her. Be calm, it's a general conversation. Y'all love to violate your own women. You're not doing that here. And I was like, wow, it's even in a calm mode, it's like a fight. So that's when I was now like, okay, a lot of healing needs to be done. I think there's a lot of anger there. No one's hearing each other. So there's just so many things. But in Clubhouse, it's major. YouTube is nothing compared to what we've both seen in Clubhouse.
Yeah, I think it's not. It's not a smidge. You're right. It's not a smidge at all. Because I thought watching, we know the Kevin Samuels and them's on YouTube and everything are, we know that they have their own sphere that they deal with. But when you get onto Clubhouse, it is honestly frontline nonsense, because their bullets that are flying rapidly, and it's like, I know it represents actually some of the conversations that are probably not being had, or the conversations that have been had in the background. So I do understand that these kind of topics do come up. People are angry, people are hurt, people are frustrated. And I think, like I said, it's tough to have that conversation on Clubhouse without it going left. But you're actually right. I think what we're seeing here is that is a result of years, hundreds of years of destructive behavior on, number one, us as a race, but us as a human race,
Yeah.
first and foremost, and then us as black people.
Yeah.
All right, because as a human race, we're all suffering. The serpentine is not discriminating against white, black, Mexican, whatever. He getting all of us, right? And then there's subsections of that, which is that there's specific things that have been happening to each particular race, because he knows how, the enemy is smart. He knows how to take us all out of the game. You know what I mean? And so we're suffering with the years of division that we've had to suffer with in terms of being under oppression. And so now there's anger on both sides, not knowing that a lot of the things that have been done to us is not been our fault. And now we're reaping the repercussions of those consequences of those actions by other people, and we don't know how to differentiate between that. So it's now we've got this, now we're trying to have these conversations about what is masculinity, what is femininity, how to operate in that, how to how to interact with one another, what is it that we're expecting, what's our standards, like do we have a standard, like there's just so many different conversations that we're having teething problems, because we're now just starting. We're now beginning to go into a place of thriving, but we've been in a place of survival. So it's been so tough because we've got survival mindset. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Exactly. So, and it's like an awakening, but with every awakening does come battles.
Yeah.
Because with, before, when it came to, yes, I went back, when I finished school and everything, and I was still having issues with relationships and what I was settling for. And then I realized I needed to go through healing of inner little girl issues that I needed to address. I had to go back to mommy issues. And healing is not, a lot of people hear the word healing and forget how ugly healing can be. Yes, the rewards of healing is amazing, but the process is very ugly. So, there's a lot of healing that does need to be done. Like us as a race went through a lot. Besides the whole slavery thing and the institutional racism, there was a crack era. The crack era was done to separate black families. We know that. So, with the whole non-father homes and the single mother homes and the welfare system, that was put on us for a reason, to keep us apart. But unfortunately, and then now with the Black Lives Matter movement, which I have no problem with, I do support it, but look what's happened. A black leader was shot, and it's like, okay, who's supporting her? Breonna Taylor, a black woman, was killed wrongfully last year, but it's the black women that were standing up for her.
Not the black men.
Where was our men? So it's gotten to a point where there's that anger from black women to say, y'all as our men, you've put us through colorism, you've put us through single motherhood. And I'm not saying that it's all men's fault, because black women, we must take some accountability. We made the decision to lay with these men, but there's that issue, and then there's so much brokenness that's happened. Instead of us to say, okay, let's go back to where did this start? Where did this all mess up? So we can go back to that foundation and heal. It's like, no, it's your fault that this happened. It's your fault that this happened. No, if you done this, we wouldn't be where we are. If you done this, women would have to be masculine. So it's like there's so much blame instead of...
And there's a lot of us to go around.
Let's go back to who started this. It's obviously the oppressor. And it was their agenda that's being fulfilled. So there still needs to be a lot of healing. But then again, I do believe healing will happen, but it's ugly. Yeah. It's not going to be pretty right now. And that's what we're seeing, a lot of lashing out happening on both ends right now. I do believe there will be a restoration, but it's going to take time, because there's been hundreds of years of damage.
And that takes generations.
Exactly. Exactly. So now the awakening is happening. Black women are now saying, including me, I want to take my femininity back. I'm willing to take my femininity power back, go back to who I am as a woman. So I'm even in the middle of reading, may his soul rest in peace, Dr. Miles Monroe's book on the purpose of woman. I said, let me go back to that. Before this whole high value and everything, let me go back to the purpose of woman and start from there before the whole mess. And I think that's what we all need to do, really. Just go back to the purpose.
Yeah. And do you know what? I love this kind of conversation, because we are breaking down things that is so. You see, things are spiritual, man. Someone's put a really good comment here that Jewish people were treated poorly, but they are a collective. And I want to say is, I see the Jewish people, right, and they are a model that we should be looking, say, hey, wow, we should be also have a collective. I also see things spiritually. Some things are spiritual. You
Yes.
understand? So the
Yes.
way that they are is because they're spiritual. You
Yes.
understand?
They stick to the foundation, which is
The
God from the
foundation.
beginning, imprinted into their children's head. This is who you are. This is what God said. Read this. They study text like crazy. I've been
Yeah.
reading. I've actually, funny you brought up the person brought up Jews, because I've actually been reading books about Jewish traditions concerning money, investment, because I want to learn how they did it. And what you just said, group economics, the purpose, their identity has been instilled into them from the beginning. So absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. And you know, one clear difference with them and anybody else, this is anybody, is that they're God's chosen people. So you, it's they're not necessarily, you can call it a race if you want to call it, but whatever you want to call it as, they're God's chosen people. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're so it's they have a unique way of doing life, because one of the things that Jewish people had that we haven't had is that when we were taken from our native land, irrespective of whether you believe Christianity or whatever, I'm a Christian first and foremost, but regardless of whatever, the first thing that they did, religion, the rituals, the traditions, even our languages, all of those things, they knew how to take it from us.
Our identity
right?
was stripped from us.
That's
Adam and
it.
Eve, again, Adam and Eve's identity was taken. The first, and that's why I brought up identity. So that's the first thing the enemy came for, and that's what he keeps coming for. So again, you just reiterated that he came for the identity. A lot of their surnames, their names were changed, their language, everything. The identity is the first thing that was stripped. That was the first thing, because once that's stripped, everything else collapses. Without identity, you have no anchor. Without identity, you have no anchor. And the identity starts with God. That was taken. You just pointed that out. I love how you pointed that out. It's everything. The identity is, again, the first thing that got taken.
It's true, you know, I never deep to that, but you've just highlighted that again. The identity is an important thing. Okay, so we're talking about obviously high value men, women, and we're talking about obviously as well femininity as well, masculinity and femininity. So, you know, what is, because that's one of the conversations that keeps coming up.
Yes.
What is the identity of femininity and masculinity? What is the true identity of these particular things that we're talking about, the qualification of these terms? Because that's where the war is. The war is happening at the identity ground, which is, what is it to be feminine? What is it to be masculine? You know, that's where we're having that contention and that war.
It started with the original purpose of what God said for man and woman. It starts from the instructions God gave to Adam at first. You know, let's make man his own image and likeness. That's one. Then gave Adam his role as a man. You're the leader. You're the one who would name all of this. Then said it's not good for man to be alone, though, doing this. So I'm going to give you a helper. Okay, not a servant, not a slave. A helpmate. The helpmate came, okay? That she has her purpose as a woman, not just to the man, but as a woman. Then he told them both, be fruitful and multiply. I think this is another part people are mixing up. I think the be fruitful and multiply or just have loads of babies. No, be fruitful and multiply with your gifts on top of the purpose I've given you both as man and woman. So there's been so much mixed up from that, because I used to think you fruitful and multiply was, oh, have loads of babies. No, be fruitful with your gifts and your talents that I gave you both, not just for each other, but as man and woman, and multiply it. But again, when the serpent came in, the dominion mandate was taken from them, but it was restored through Christ Jesus. Thank you, God, for the blood of Jesus. You know, but it started from there. The femininity and masculinity role started with the two that God instructed in that garden.
Does that femininity mean that, let's say I'm gonna throw it left now, real curveball. Does that femininity mean that as a woman you should earn less and the man should earn more, and that will mean that your femininity is intact? You should always have a man that earns more. Throw one left.
You know what? That was a good question, because I personally don't think, well, I personally didn't think earning was an issue at first, because I feel like even if a man earns less than a woman, he can still provide. Reason I say that is because I know men who are earning less than their women and still providing. They're still doing their part as men. And women who are earning more than men and are still doing their part as a woman, as soon as they're at home, they switch off that masculine in their corporate role in their business and they're fully women. So I don't think that matters, but I think the reason why at the same time it can be a cause for concern on the other hand is because there are situations where a man doesn't feel like a man when his woman's earning more than him. He feels emasculated. And in a way I understand that, because he's meant to be the leader, right? The leader, the head of the home. So a woman earning more than him makes him think he's not doing enough. I understand, and obviously with men, I understand. Men, y'all have egos.
And it's fragile.
Is fragile. If it gets poked, oh my goodness. So that one poke of your ego is problem. So I think the idea of a woman making more than him makes him feel emasculated, like I'm not doing enough for her to be making more than me. I need to do more for her to be. And also there are women who emasculate men. I'm not even going to say there's men who just feel emasculated. There's women who also go out of their way and like, women stop doing this if you're doing it, please. Who emasculate men? I've done it before. It was really out of order. Who emasculate men? Well, I'm making more money than you and I'm more successful than you, so you're not really a man. And there are women who emasculate men. And I think that plays a role. So I don't think it matters, but on the other hand, I understand why it should matter. Because a man he's not, men generally their egos, no, but I'm being honest, in these days, with what we're seeing, and that's what I've seen amongst black women, a lot of black women are doing so well, earning business, owning homes and stuff, and are now saying, okay, we want our men to step up, be providers, and they're getting insulted for it. We're being called prostitutes, gold diggers, because the society has programmed us to bring both the values of a man or woman into a relationship, otherwise we'll be called gold diggers. So I think there's loads of elements that play into it, like because now I think it's also ego again. Women are saying, y'all need to step up. Look at what we're doing. We're making the money. We're getting the houses, and the men are feeling emasculated. And instead of them to say, okay, let's step up, they're attacking. But then also there's women emasculating men. So there's so many elements to this. My dear brother, there's so many elements. I don't think it matters. I've seen men make £40,000 a year and they're still providing, but at the same time, I think within them it's uncomfortable. Because that structure of I'm meant to lead, I'm meant to provide. How is my woman making more than me?
No, you're making sense. You're making sense. Okay.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? What's your thoughts on that? I'm interested to hear your thoughts on. Do you think, from a man's perspective, do you think it matters? With me now, I would rather date a man that makes more than me. I'm being honest, because in the past, when I've settled for dating men with potential, I've stopped doing that. I'm sorry. When I was dating men with potential and saying, you know what, he's going to get better and stuff like that, it worked against me in a way. And I found myself having to play ride or die. I found myself having to cover certain finances and use the excuse of, oh, he's earning less now, but it'll get better later. And it ended up working at my detriment. And we're seeing that happen in reality TV shows and stuff like that. So as a result, I'd rather, he's making more so that I can have the choice to rest in my femininity at home and not have to work. When my kids come, I can work from home or just chill knowing that he's got it, So I prefer it that way. But I would like to know your perspective on a man's end. Do you think it matters or would you rather make more? And let's be honest.
Do you know what? Yeah. I mean, I think there's a gap where it's too much in terms of earning more, where I think our mindsets potentially might be different, right? So let's say 80,000, 100,000 is not much of a gap. But if you're on like 200,000, 80,000, there might be a little bit of a gap there, right? Which may make someone feel a certain type of way. I really feel like you need to be on your grind. I think as a man, if you're on your grind, and I'm not talking about just on your 9 to 5, I'm talking about being on your path that you're meant to be going on to. I think you can feel a bit more comfortable because you know that wherever you're going has potential to grow. I think the problem with a lot of us men is that we're not on our path And so we don't see the potential to grow. For instance, if you're in your job, right, you work 9 to 5, and there's a ceiling to the job, right? Yeah, there's two more promotions, but the two more promotions are only going to take you to what, 40,000 at the end, right? So actually, there isn't much growth. So now you're dating a girl who earns 80K already, and you're on your 30K, right? And the next two promotions are going to only take you to 40,000. You don't know how you're going to get out of that situation. Right, because you can't see expansion. And I think for any man that is in a position where they can't see expansion, they're always going to be feeling inferior to a woman who earns more than them considerably, because he cannot see himself ever catching up, or at least ever becoming something, right? So that will always be an issue for a lot of men. So I think a lot of men need to be in a space of where they want to be, where they can see that growth can happen for them. If you're only seeing glass ceilings, I think the men will always suffer. As for me, in terms of this question, would I date somebody who earns considerably more? I'd say no.
I'm with you. No. I don't think it matters, but I myself said it. I want a man that's established, because I worked hard to establish myself. I went through law school. I'm building businesses. So I want a man that's established. And I've had some men come at me and say, why must he, and I hear this happen to a lot of black women, why must he be made? I don't hear this happen to non-black women, correct me if I'm wrong, but to black women, why must he be made? What if he has potential? I don't have time for that, because in my mind, like you said, you have the decision to smash that glass ceiling. If you feel limited where you are, you can go to opportunities where you're limited. There's now investment opportunities. There's now multiple streams of income opportunities. You could build a business on the side of your 9 to 5, build your fortune, create legacy money. So to me, it's like, there's not an excuse for that. There's other streams of, we have the luxury of social media to make money, so things like that, there's streams of income that he can build to make sure his family's on track. Because I tend to hear the question, what if he falls sick and can't work from home? Or you could build a business at home. You can invest and create money where money's working for you, so that if that does happen, your wife is not having to deal with that burden for long periods of time. So I definitely agree with you, and I don't blame you, because, again, the leadership and the ego and the principle. So I even agree with you. I would rather not date a man that makes significantly less than me. If there's a little gap, whatever. But if it's a significant thing where he's still on a $40,000 pound per year job, but I'm making 100K. Once I finish my pupillage as a barrister, because I'm still going through the process, I'm making 150K in that role. Then I have a business making this amount of money. Then I have investments. That's going to be an issue for me. So I'm with you. I'm with you.
And honestly, it's an issue as well in this generation, because of the way history has planned out. And I always say this is like, if you are you the oldest sibling? Are you a middle ground?
I am.
You're the oldest, right?
Yeah, I'm the oldest girl. Then I have like my older brother who's a year older, but I'm like the oldest girl, so a lot of responsibility was put on me.
Falls on your neck. Okay, great. So those who are underneath you, the day they try to usurp you, there will be problems. The day they're given the same amount of responsibility that you're given, there'll be problems.
Exactly.
Because you're used to being in a position of power. Where men are struggling is that they're used to being in positions of power. And now what's happening is, when we're talking about finances per se, because it is a big part of what we call, in terms of in a relationship, bargaining power. When women are now working and earning a considerable amount, and you're now in a relationship with that particular person, she now also has a level of power. And what happens is, men are struggling because the way we've been taught, brought up, everything like that, we've been acclimatized to the fact that we have power automatically.
Right.
So now you're in a situation with a woman who earns more than you considerably, and that power that you thought you had has gone. Right. It's not there anymore. You understand? And then you feel automatically emasculated. And so now, as a man, they are struggling with the entitlement that they have within themselves. But they won't call it entitlement because they didn't know they're entitled. But we're not aware that we're entitled, because we've always been in this position. A prince has always been a prince, doesn't know that he's not anything else but a prince. And so a lot of men don't realize that the level of entitlement that we have, it causes us to struggle in the moment where we have a woman now earning more than us now. That's why a lot of men can't do it. Do you know what I'm saying? So then now men have to marry women that are younger, who are maybe starting up in their career because the financial situation. Yeah, go sis.
That's it. And that's it. I love it. That's it. And I think that's where the toxicity is coming into this high value man and high value women thing. People are mixing high value. So there's high value women, high value men. So the high value women movement is originally teaching women how to become women of purpose, as well as women of purpose, influence, impact, and taking our femininity power back in our relationships, in our business, and in our lives. The high value men movement, I know it's also similar with the same thing, to take the masculinity, to build on that, and to become men of leadership. But here's the issue. Now, high earning men, they're mixing high earning men up with high value. And I'm seeing this a lot because of, again, I don't even want to mention the name here. Right?
We call him Kitten Hills on this channel. Go on.
Grandpa Kitten Hills sound. Okay? Because he's calling high earning men high value. And then we're hearing there's some femininity leaders that are calling women who wear better hair, makeup, and dresses high value women. But high value women is not the external, it's more internal. The same for the high value man. A high value man can make less than 6 figures, but still be, a high value man can make less than 6 figures and be high value. He has emotional intelligence. He's a leader, he's a provider, a protector. High earning men can have the high earning, but nothing else. And unfortunately, now a picture's being painted that if you're high earning, you're high value. So women are now thinking, okay, that's a high value man. So I'm seeing this high value man all over the place. And I'm like, how is he high value though? Because he earns 6 figures? Y'all are messing this thing up. Then, high value woman. What? Because she has longer hair, lipstick, she's wearing beautiful clothes. There's more to it than that. Y'all are moving it from the purpose, which is the beginning of time. So that's where the toxicity is coming in. So now there's younger women saying, I want a high value man who earns, there's nothing wrong with that. You want your man to earn more than you, but that's what they're calling high value. They're missing out he has purpose, he loves God. And that's the anchor. He loves God more than he loves himself. So if he loves God right, I know he's going to love me right. He has purpose, he has a career, he has emotional intelligence, he's willing to protect, he's willing to build himself. And me and him coming together, we become purpose partners, because with marriage, I'm learning that it's not just about the wedding day and being together. Marriage comes with purpose partnership. Someone I can create a legacy with. Can I create a legacy with him? Can I still be in my purpose that God has set with me with him? But that's all being lost. So women are now marrying, the young women, like you said, they'll go marrying these men, calling them high value, and then find themselves miserable because the purpose has been removed from the very beginning, and they're focusing on the wrong stuff.
It's I love that you just said as well. It's such an interesting conversation because this is the high resources versus high value situation. And people mix the two up. So when we talk about, for instance, if you're talking about a man who earns 6 figures, right? He's high resource because he's a source of supply. He's able to give you support. And he has wealth or revenue, right? That you can tap into. But when we talk about value, this word value, this is why like English is so easy, because you can search on a dictionary, right? So the word value is a fair return on equivalent in goods, services, money for something exchanged. I don't know if it's good value if you get a man that earns 6 figures but will treat you badly, disrespect you, cheat on you, have multiple women, okay, has no content of character, right? And isn't generally a good man at heart, right? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not fair value. You know what I'm saying? So the word fair being in there is important to make you understand that there's an exchange, and the exchange is meant to be fair. There's nothing fair about being cheated on, being disrespected. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not how God made it. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think with this conversation, when it's like high value versus high resource, high income, it always goes to that point. And this is why it goes to that point, because it's the serpentine spirit you're talking about. It is about dominance, not about leadership. And there's a complete difference. Like when you were the older sibling and your younger sibling is moving mad and you're just angry, so you're gonna just use all your firstborn tactics and use it against them. Today you're gonna show your younger sibling, today you know who I am today. But actually, it wasn't because you were leading. It's because you wanted to dominate your younger sibling.
Thank you.
And there's a difference.
And there's a big difference. I love how you said that. There's a big difference between dictatorship and leadership. And I think this is where, again, more of the mix of the serpentine spirit again coming in, because with the remember I said toxic patriarchy, abusing the dominant position.
Yeah.
It went from being the leader, saying, oh, we're the heads, and we're the leaders, so you're under us. That's dictatorship. So of course, toxic feminism is coming in and saying, we don't need you. If that's what you want to be doing, we don't need you. We don't need you. We don't need someone. I can get my own money. I can pay my own bills. I don't need you dictating to me what I need to do. And it's taken away the whole purpose of what leadership really is. And leadership is not dictatorship. It's not disrespect. It's not being devalued. You know, and I love that you looked even with what value means, because when I first started the whole teaching about high value women building high value businesses and legacies, I made sure I did a video reel on my Instagram of what value is. I said, clarify your value. I said, value doesn't beg, value attracts. Right?
So
value doesn't beg to be accepted. Value doesn't say, pick me, choose me, I'm right here. It attracts. So I made sure they understood that, so that they'll even know that, listen, y'all are calling into these shows seeking validation. Heal. Go back to your identity. Heal your wounds. Work on your mindset. Change your frequency. Do all of that so that you can become that person of value that attracts opportunities, attracts blessings, is walking in abundance. Instead of seeking validation from someone else, because, again, you don't know who you are. The identity is lost. So you're letting someone else tell you something. And you're now like, okay, if I have to settle for that, being cheated on, that's what I want. So I'm going to go for that.
Just for 6 figures.
I'm going to go for that high value, so-called high value, because I want to have that provider or whatever. But they're forgetting, again, the purpose was removed. So they're being told something else, and they're acting on that, and it's to their own detriment.
And I think, you know what, because you said I'll keep going back to the serpentine spirit, because this is what it is really. And, you know, I remember the scripture where it says that in the latter days, it will be calling good bad and bad good, right? And that the term high value in itself, right, is a problem, because the word value cannot be coexistent with the fact that somebody is disrespectful, doesn't give you fair price in exchange for what they're giving you out, right? There is none. That person is dominating and taking and robbing from you. When I begin to cheat on you, when I begin to make arrangements because you know what I'm saying, taking advantage of that fact, and when I start to obviously use my position of power to dominate you, then we're no longer operating in value. And I think it's very purposeful that they called it high value, not high resource. That's why I call it serpentine spirit, because you wouldn't call it high resource, because it becomes negative to call a man high resource. Why? Oh, that woman just wants to take from him. But you are actually saying that in the high value, because you're saying that this person is highly wanted. It doesn't mean high value. They're highly sought after, because yes, they have materials and goods. So call them what they are, high resource, because they're high in resources,
or high earning.
But they didn't want to call it that, because because the serpentine spirit understands, when I call things good, I call it bad, right? Because it's the world that we're living in. Okay, as the Bible lets us know, is that, you know, that Satan runs his world, and the world we're talking about is the systems. Right? God is the overall winner, but don't worry about that. It's one of the systems that this world operates on. Satan runs the system, so that's why everyone looks at it in a certain way, in a certain lens. So that whole high value situation has been pushed so much, but they fail to talk about the other things within that, which is not just the earning power, but about the content of somebody's heart. How do I treat people? And it's interesting that they never go. You see, when someone, Grandma Kitten Hills, when he decided to use the Bible, didn't want to go to Jesus. He went to, instead of sending out someone with high character, he actually went to other men in the Bible who are fallible, just like me. I am not the standard. Like, if we're talking about the high value man, I am not the standard. Neither is David, neither is Abraham, neither is Paul, neither is Peter in the Bible. None of these men are high value. Christ is the high value standard. And so when you start looking at Christ as a standard, that becomes the issue now, because now you can't mess around the way you mess around. You can't be talking about arrangements and men be out here, you know, if you're high value, you can cheat on your wife. You can't talk about that, because now we're talking about content of heart.
None of that. So you can calculate. That's why when you went into Old Testament talk, I said, oh, I see what you're doing here. You know, I see what you're doing. And but I was like, you're mentioning these people, but you are forgetting to mention the consequences that every single one of them, including Solomon, the most wealthiest man in the world, okay? You're forgetting about the consequences he was given as a result of that. You're forgetting about the consequences that each of these men were given. Even Jacob, obviously now Israel, had consequences because of
Yep.
that. So it's like you're forgetting about that and saying it was God's plan. No, it wasn't. So there exactly. So he made sure. I noticed that people keep bringing up, especially when it comes to talks of polygamy and stuff. They immediately go to Old Testament. None of them go to New Testament. I love the fact that you pointed that out with Christ. It's like that's been taken totally out of it. Yeah, and that's the whole purpose. Serpentine spirit, take Christ out of this. Let me let me toxic. Let me inject. Yeah.
Yeah, and then because we're talking about high value and talking about, I think you mentioned earlier on as well in terms of about the fact that the man and woman, how we interact.
Yeah.
Like this word dominance is so important because when we go back to that particular Genesis 3, when the curse is given, that still God does not say the man will dominate the woman. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't say that. When he says dominion, he says over the plants, the animals, the land, the sea, whichever, you have that dominion, but not over each other.
Thank you.
So whenever we have leadership that goes into dominion, that goes into this autocratic kind of, I'm the only person that can speak, I'm the only one that can say something, I don't consider your feelings, I don't consider your thoughts, I don't take into account what you have, then we're no longer going on high value, we're no longer operating on that spectrum, we're operating on high resources, which is I use you when I need to use you at any given time, and I choose at the time and the place when I need you. That's completely different, right, from the high value. And it's so important to have that kind of conversation and being putting it out there. And I think that's why we're struggling so much at the moment, because and here's the thing, we understand, and I would love for them to put it in a proper position. We understand that in this world, if you have more money as a male, you become more attractive. We understand that.
We know that. But there's more that needs to come.
But there's more to exactly. So what we should be doing is educating people and say there's more to a man you should be looking for, and vice versa to women as well. If you don't see the heart, you're only if you don't see the heart.
And I agree.
Exactly. Go on, sis.
But because I even say, women are always all about the heart. Women, no, I learned myself. You can't go out there dressed like masquerade. It won't work. But we have to look beautiful. We have to represent the beauty of woman. Period. But it's more than a woman's beauty that will get her the perfect partner, or to be, but exactly, more than the money on that end. It's more than the physical on our end, because I began to accept it was a battle for a while. But physicality does play a big part in womanhood. Because, come on now, let's go back to the garden. Yeah,
let's go back to the garden.
Let's go there.
When you saw her.
And will say, you're the bones of the bones and the flesh of my flesh, I'll call you woman. He said it for a reason. He must have been like, whoa, this? Okay. I'm very sure he saw the looks before. So that's still with us. It will never go anywhere. And it's not a bad thing, but it's more than the looks, because there are beautiful women who have no character, no purpose, they're not feminine. Just because a woman looks feminine doesn't mean she's feminine.
That's right.
So I agree with you. I love it.
Just because a woman looks feminine doesn't mean she's feminine. I love that too. I love that. And I think what's even happening with this conversation is, as we were saying, like when you have this, we quite agreed on certain different points in the way that we see things. We agreed on those things. And I think with these kind of conversations, what happens is both parties are hurt. They're struggling to take what the other party is saying without taking it personally. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, that's where the struggle comes. It's like people put themselves in there personally, and it becomes difficult to hear what the other side is saying. If women are saying this is how we feel, then the men are like, yeah, but you guys do this. And it's like, okay, but sir, I need you first to take what she said, receive it, hear it, settle it, right? Yeah. Then you can reply with how you also feel, that the fact that there are things on their side they can also change, right? But it doesn't become that conversation. It becomes, you done that. And yeah, but I only did that because you did that. And no, I only do this because you do this. And it's like, we never go anywhere when we're trying to nail the person to the cross. Jesus already done that. We don't need to do that to each other. So it's like, we have to listen to, we want to get to that place where we're trying to listen to one another. And I think like these are the kind of conversations that we're having right now that help to fester and foster those kind of conversations, where it's like, okay, cool, look, we know there are problems on each side. Where can we agree though and say, hey, look, this is what we're looking at as, we're talking about femininity, masculinity. this is what we're looking at, and understanding that not everyone even fits in that box. Not everyone ever fits in that box. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, this conversation is so amazing. I'm just like, wow. Yeah, like exactly. I think that's something I'm learning to do as well. Because when I was having these conversations, I used to, if you're not getting my point, I'm wanting to fight. But now I'm like, and I think one thing that my father said to me, because when I was saying, oh, this is what I'm seeing in Clubhouse, what I'm seeing now, and I was like, I need to provide a solution, but I have a war mindset. Like, okay, I need to come to black women and say to black women, yo, we got to divest, or we got to do this. Because I've seen a lot of talks about divestment. That's something being brought to us and stuff. We may have to divest. I may have to divest and blah, blah, blah. And one thing he said to me that was a game changer is don't fight. Just focus on the solution.
Yeah.
You don't need to join the fight. And I was like, I think that was my lawyer mode, because with lawyers, where we go to
trained.
Yeah, we're trained to go to war, with our opponent. So I think that was in me. That subconsciously, I feel like if I'm going to advocate for black women, I have to fight. But it's like, no, I don't. Like, let's have a conversation. So I'm learning to let people talk, and even if I don't agree and my inside is boiling, like, oh, you're going to get it, I will hold it and just be like, okay. So we have to say, but I'm going to rebut, but I'm going to do respectfully. I don't need to shout. I don't even need to join your energy. This is part of the femininity growth I'm learning. I don't need to raise my voice for even a man to hear me. Because I'm going to get that from my mother. I'm not going to lie, Mom, I love your story, but it's true. My mom can shout. So as a child, I grew up thinking I must shout.
Raise the bar.
So now I'm like, okay, let me not do that. I don't need to shout. Even if the wrong person shout, let them shout and graze their throat. I would talk respectfully. So I'm going through that as well, of learning that if I need to get a point across, I don't need to fight. It's hard, it's not easy, because with the lawyer side, when you're trying to separate, but I agree with you. I think more listening than fighting. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. And it's interesting. It is really interesting because I know we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but it is really interesting because I think, like you're saying, that you mentioned about obviously even your mum kind of shouting. We all learn things from our parents.
Please,
mum, don't. Please.
I'm not making fun out of people.
But it's not even that. It's not even necessarily a bad thing. It's more a case of we've all learned things from our parents. Do you know what I'm saying? And so a lot of the things that we've learned from our parents are infiltrating even now, and what we're talking about even now. So how people see things will be how they've been reared, how they've been brought up, the environment, and they all contribute towards the way that somebody sees life and how they deal with things. And like you're saying, I think I'm so much in agreement with you. I'm here to war, but I'm also here to bring solutions. You know what I mean? And so, how you do that is obviously how you do that, but it's, you're right. I think we're in a place where now let's look at some solutions, and let's look at how we can bring together both parties to have much more amicable conversations in what we're doing. Because I understand, like I said, we said this at the very beginning, we are waking up, and that is the fight that you're awakening, and we're having that fight to try and see where we stand and just kind of gauge where we're meant to be at. But I think, because it's tough, because I think now there's so much visibility with online and internet. And I know that sometimes when I'm in the manosphere, because I often visit there to see what they're saying. I need to see what my enemy is saying. You know what I'm saying?
That's when my war, the lion comes in, like, okay, I'm ready to attack all of them there. Like, and I don't know if it's Cynthia G. Shout out to her. I am on her channel to talk a lot about the black man pathology, and I'm not gonna lie, she's right. But at times when I'm on her show and I hear men calling and her arguing with the way she handles them, like men of the manosphere calling in and they're shouting and she's calm and she's just handling them. And I'm like, I'm shocked she's able to do it that way, because me, I will be cussing back and shouting, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how they do it, but yeah. I don't know how you can be in that manosphere without throwing a whole lot of scripture and all of that at them, because me, I can't do it. I will lose my temper. So I was like, I stay away.
Do you know what? It's and that's the beauty of it. Like, I've been on both. I've been on the manosphere. I've been also on the toxic femininity side of things, and they
Even
both have
that
the
stuff I
same
can't
thing.
be in because I've
Both,
had
yeah,
to,
both of them are
I've had
mad.
to lot of women. Yeah.
Both of them are mad, and that's what they have in common. Both of them are mad. You know what I'm saying? They don't realize both of them are mad, and they
They're
have the same
crazy.
thing in
They're
common.
mad.
They
Yeah.
want to take advantage of each other,
Yeah.
and I. You know what? You can't. You're as a war as we're warring. Your objective must be that I can't save everybody, and it's not
Yeah,
my. It's, you know what I'm saying?
exactly.
I can't save everybody, but let me present some light for those who have eyes to see to be
Mm,
drawn to. And that's what we're trying to do right now in this conversation,
that's
which is
exactly what we're
let's
trying to
give
do.
the light so you can be drawn to. And those who
That's it.
actually can see the light will come towards it. And those who want to stick to that
Exactly.
side will always stick to that side because what they want is power and dominance.
That's it.
It's
It's a
not
power
about
struggle.
loving.
It's a power struggle. That's what it is. And again, I agree with you. That's why when my father said that he was a game changer, don't join the fight. Just think of solutions. Come out of your lawyer mode at times. Not every time you must come for the war. And I was like, okay, that's something I'm going to learn to do. Yeah,
I'm
so
with
I'm
you.
with you on that.
I'm with you. Final thoughts before we vacate the conversation.
Ooh, final thought. I would say I want more women. Well, women, like I want us to focus on being purposeful women and legacy women. You know, like I teach. Obviously, I said at the beginning that I teach women how to become high caliber. I took the word high value out on purpose because, again, it's been so
It's loaded.
complicated that I had to remove myself and say, what can I do differently? And I said high caliber. That word is a form of it's value, but it's strong.
I get you
So
saying.
I say high value women of high caliber women of purpose, influence, and impact. And obviously, I teach them how to build their businesses, their relationships. I teach them about dating tips as well as personal development mindset, focusing on purpose. And with the mindset training, I do a lot of purpose. Like, let's go back to purpose because your purpose governs your confidence, your self esteem, your mindset, your belief system, how you deal with fear, you know. So I want women to really focus. Yes, you deserve to be with a man of purpose, a purpose partner. Please don't let red pill or blue pill make you feel otherwise. Go back to what God wants for you. And I think I'll say to you, say to God, help me see me the way you see me. This is a powerful prayer I keep saying. God, help me see me the way you see me. What is it you know about me that I don't know about myself? Men also ask that question about yourselves. And focus on creating legacy. I'm so obsessed with studying people like Chanel, who started from nothing to something, Coco Chanel, um, Madam C.J. Walker. Study legacies before you as well. So that's just my final thought. Let's go back to purpose. Let's go back to our identities and take that back. But the first thing you should do is ask God, help me see me the way you see me.
Appreciate that. Good,
That's my
good,
final
good
word.
words.
But
Final
and
words.
thank you to
No
you
worries.
for because I reached out to you. I was like, yeah, let's have a conversation, and it's been an amazing conversation. So keep doing what you're doing. I admire what you're doing. I think from the beginning when you was with the whole church scandal when you taking it back to Christ, I was like, yeah. I love that, and even now with your reviews and everything, keep doing that. Amazing. It inspires me because I started my YouTube in October. I was spiritually led to do so, but
Likewise, yes, come on.
until I received downloads, I wouldn't speak. I didn't want to just come on YouTube and talk. Once I received that spiritual download that says, okay, go ahead, get on that YouTube and do this, I'll do my second video. But yeah, keep doing what you do. It's inspiring people like me.
It's a blessing, man. Thank you for coming on here and just shelling out gems. You know, maybe we'll have to arrange a second time. You know, a second conversation. You know, because I think this is a really good
I'm
conversation.
down. I'm here
Yeah.
for it. As long as it brings people back to purpose, I'm here. I'm here for it.
Let's do that. I think episode 2 we can talk more about the purpose deeper. I think we can go deeper. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll go deeper.
That one I'll pray and fast so that God can give me good downloads for that one. Because before I speak, I say, God, what do you want me to say? So absolutely, I'm down. I'm here for it.
I think they're asking what your channel is. Is it Inspirational Guru? Is that channel?
Oh, yeah, my channel is the Inspirational Guru. There's one video there of me saying, hi, I'm here. And you won't see any other videos after that because I haven't received the download yet, but bear with me. However, if you want to stay connected to me, I'm very active on Instagram.
Yeah.
So my Instagram is _. Go on my Instagram. You can join my through the link in the bio. You can join my Facebook groups for women. You can also listen to my podcast, Confessions of a Goddess, where I talk about what a goddess is, and I take it back again to the beginning of
Come
women.
on.
I talk about the toxic ride or die chick culture. That's
Hey.
my third episode. I did a third episode on that. Women, you need to listen if you're doing it because it will really help you awaken. I also did an open letter episode 2, open letter to the black woman. Listen to that one as well. So yeah, connect with me, guys. Connect with me, and feel free to DM me and ask questions. I'm here. I'm the inspirational guru. I'm here to inspire you to greater impact, influence, and purpose. Okay.
Love that, man. Love
Thank
that,
you so much.
Veritas. No worries at all. Before we go, I just wanted to shout out Drussie. Drussie, shout out you, man. She's always dropping coins on my channel, man. I have to appreciate her so much for doing so. So we appreciate you, sis.
Thank you.
And we love that you love the content. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. Shout out. But yes, guys, thank you for joining us today. It's been one of those great conversations once again. Make sure you like this video on the way out. Share it with somebody if you think it will help them. In fact, share it with somebody. It will help them.
Yeah.
You know, so let me change the language. It will help them, all right?
will.
And you'll see more great conversations like this in the coming weeks. Okay, Veritas. Much love, much appreciation. We're going to jump out. Guys, see you guys soon.